A very good morning to you. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, a chat wrap on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. It is a beautiful Wednesday, and we have a lot of exciting things that is happening in the UK and around the world. And I want to make sure that you are informed and inspired all throughout the day. So if you want to, be a part of the show, be a part of the conversation, we would absolutely love to have you. All you gotta do is either call me up, or if you're listening to us on any of our lives on any of our social media platforms, all you gotta do is comment down below. And if you do comment down below, I will see it and I can reply to it in real time, and we can have a very good conversation about whatever it is you like. Now, if you want to talk about something specific, you could always request the topic of discussion, or if you want to just comment on something that I'm talking about, I would still love to have your opinion, your thoughts, and your ideas. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Now, before we move on to the conversation for today, and let me tell you, there's some very, very interesting things to talk about. But before we get into that, I want to remind you to download our app. It's available absolutely free of charge on iOS and Android, and you can take us with you wherever that you go as long as you download our app. So make sure that you download our app and make sure that you stay connected. But before we get into the conversation, check this out. All right, that was what we do here basically at Relax Radio. We're all about keeping you entertained. We're all about making sure that you are informed and inspired. So, like I said before, if you want to be a part of the conversation, if you want to join in and let me know what's going on, I would absolutely love to hear from you. So go on right ahead and call me up on 07852 or just comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our lives. I would absolutely love to know how your day is going. You could tell me if you're having a good day. If you're not, we could talk about it either. Every single person deserves to have some conversation. All of us need that human conversation sometimes. And that's what we are here for. We're here to give you some good conversation, and we're here for you 24/7, 365. I am Jamie, and I'll be with you for quite some time, actually. But before we get on into the more serious aspects of today, I think we need to talk about criticism. Okay, because I feel like the reason I wanted to talk about criticism for a second is because I feel like criticism is something a lot of us have trouble dealing with. We are so worried about criticism sometimes that we kind of let it decide if we are successful in life or not. Now, no matter what you do, no matter how good of a thing you do or how bad of a thing you do, no matter what you do, criticism is going to follow you. It is almost just a part of life. You should not worry about criticism because you simply cannot make everyone happy. Now, that's kind of what I want to talk to you about, okay? It is important that we accept criticism, to learn from it and let go. So, one thing that I absolutely believe is that you should never dull your shine for somebody else. So, just because other people criticize you, that doesn't mean that you stop doing what you love to do. So, if you are pursuing, your dreams in life, you will be more familiar with criticism. If you're doing what you love, if you're doing your own thing, you are going to be very familiar with criticism. If you're not being criticized, you're not taking enough actions. At least that's what I believe. What do you think? I think that you know that you're on the right path when there are people to criticize you. See, no matter what you do, people are going to find reasons to criticize you. To avoid criticism, if you ask me, Jamie, how do I avoid criticism? Well, what you have to do is to do nothing, to say nothing, and to be nothing. So what's the point of life if you do nothing and say nothing and be nothing just in order to get rid of avoid criticism? See, people okay, this is what I believe, or this is the kind of theory that I have come up with, okay? I feel like in this world that we live in, people kind of throw their own insecurities on you. So, say somebody couldn't, say you're trying to open up a new business, and say this other person couldn't necessarily be successful doing their business, or they're scared of opening up their new business. So, this other person is going to reflect their insecurities on you. Because I feel like in this world that we live in, people kind of throw their own failures at you. They believe that if they cannot, then you cannot as well, which is absolutely not true. See, what we need to understand is that everyone has their own potential. Each of us is born with a very unique talent. If we don't succeed, it doesn't mean that if somebody else doesn't succeed, doesn't mean that you will fail too. So I think what I'm trying to tell you is to never stop trying. Failure simply means that you are in the race. And what's important is that you have to keep going. See, I feel like a lot of us, what limits a lot of us at least, is this fear of criticism. Fear of criticism creates limitations for all of us at some point, which is fair enough. We're so afraid of of being judged by other people. We're so afraid of being criticized by other people that we kind of don't do what drives us. It stops us from pursuing our dreams. And for example, if you have an idea to start your own business, like I told you before, fear of failure and fear of criticism is going to keep you away from taking that action. So, see, you wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realize how seldom they do it, right? Never fear what people will say about you, which is why I want you to explore life. The more you experiment with life, the more you're going to get better at it. With saying all of this, I'm not going to say that you're going to be successful at every single thing you do, because that is just not a given. And I feel like criticism is just a part of it. Like I told you, if you ask me, Jamie, what can I do to avoid criticism in life? The best way to avoid criticism is to do nothing, is to say nothing, and is to be nothing. But what's the point of life if you are doing nothing with it? So, see, if you try to do something substantial with life, people are going to try to judge you, people are going to try to criticize you. But that should never, ever be a reason to limit you. Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to say is I want you to try as much as possible. Do you agree with me? Because I don't know, I feel like you need to explore life. Even if you fail, so what? Failure simply means that you are in the race. You've just got to keep going. So, how exactly, I know I've been telling you deal with criticism, but how exactly can we as individuals deal with criticism? See, you need to start taking criticism as a motivation. See critics as your own personal motivator. Do what they say you cannot do. For me, one thing that drives me a lot is proving people wrong. Prove those haters wrong. Do it only if you want. And if it's something that you truly want, don't let somebody's words stop you. See, a great pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do. So use criticism as a motivation. Don't think too much. Okay, before taking any step, we think what our family is going to say. We think about our relatives. We think about our friends. We think a lot. We overthink. Now, if you really want to do something, do it. People will always have something to say. Indeed, you are going to be criticized if you fail. But remember, I don't know, you will find critics even if you succeed too. So, either ways, criticism is just going to follow you. But you need to make that conscious decision to keep going. Don't take criticism to heart. Listen and decide for yourself. Make your own decisions. More importantly, remember that consider rather criticism as a part of success. Now, that's what I believe you need to do in order to be successful, in order to deal with criticism in life. And if you do want to be successful, you are going to have to deal with criticism in life. It's just a part and parcel of life that you are going to have to accept. Now, that was a little inspiration to start off with, but we have a lot more interesting conversations. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Welcome back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, the Chat Trap. Hope you are having yourself an amazing Wednesday morning so far. We've talked about a lot of different things so far, and I just have so much more to share with you, which is why I want to make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Earlier on, actually, we were talking about how you as an individual can deal with criticism. That I feel like was something very interesting, and I'm so glad for everybody that was tuning in. I want to say a big thank you going out to everybody listening in so far. And right now, though, I want to talk about something a little bit different, but something that's equally important. And that is with regards to certain gender biases that shape our brains. Now, I know that a few days back, I think it was last week, we spoke of if gender equality as a whole is it going backwards. It is something that we spoke of, but today I just want to look into the aspect of gender biases, knowing that in the UK itself, it is something that we're talking about right now. So I just want to keep you informed with regards to certain gender biases and if these gender biases tend to condition us or tend to, shape our brain. So this is definitely something that I do want to talk about. And if you want to hear it, you got to keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Now, before we go into that conversation, I want to remind you that you can be a part of this conversation. I would love to hear your personal experiences. If you agree with what I'm talking about, you can most definitely let me know. But if you have different opinions, different ideas, that's perfectly fine as well. Just make sure that if you're listening to us on any of our lives, all you got to do is comment down below. You can comment with whatever you want to say, and you can share your voice. You can make your voice be heard with every single person that is listening in. Or you could simply call me on 07852 473 All right, let's get into the conversation. Gender biases that shape our brain. Is it actually true? Does it actually exist? Now, okay, the reason I wanted to talk to you about this is because I thought I want to ask you a question for a second, okay? Now, when you give a child a toy, you kind of create traits that you kind of create a lasting impact on their lives. And think about it. What is the most common toy that you'd give a baby girl? I mean, I feel like the most common answer would be a doll or something pink. Whereas, what's the most common toy you'd give a boy? It would probably be either some Legos or a car or something of that sort. Now, these sort of biases, what I'm trying to tell you is that there are certain gender biases that are created in us that we're conditioned to believe in as children, right? See, at the end of the day, I want to talk to you about the way children play or how we interact with children when they are growing up is hugely important is a hugely important part of development. It's how children first develop their skills and their interests, and it kind of blocks or encourages building, whereas dolls can encourage perspective, taking skills of taking care and caregiving of some sort. This range of play experiences is clearly very important. So basically, I guess what kind of gift that you would give your children or what kind of toys that you let your children play with kind of decides certain gender biases or kind of decides what they are going to grow up to be. So, see, children are also like little detectives, all right? Working out what category they belong to by constantly learning from those around them. So, children, not knowing better, kind of learn to put themselves in certain groups, right? And as soon as they understand what gender they fit into, they will naturally gravitate towards the categories that have been thrust upon them from birth. So, one question that I've always asked myself is, why do boys like cars so much, and why do girls like other things? Well, this essentially is the explanation behind it, if that makes any sense. As soon as a child, see, children pick up really, really fast. So as soon as a child understand what gender or what kind of a group, I would say, that they fit into, they are going to be naturally gravitated towards that particular category, because that has been thrust upon them from birth. That's why from the age of about 2, girls tend to navigate more to things that are pink, while boys boys, even though they like it sometimes, they try to avoid them. I have witnessed that firsthand, honestly, because when I have a lot of nieces and nephews, and I know if she kind of stubbornly refuses to wear anything that she perceives as slightly boyish, despite my sister's futile attempts to actually not overtly gender clothing even early on. It's kind of this ideology that society thrusts upon children. It's no surprise then that preschool children learn to identify with their gender so young, especially as parents and friends and teachers tend to give children toys associated with their gender early on. So that kind of explains a lot to me personally. Once children understands which gender tribe that they belong to, they become more responsive to these gender labels, right? And then this then influences their behavior. For instance, even how a toy is presented can change a child's interest in it. Girls are found to be more interested in typically boyish toys if they were pink, for instance, right? So these, I feel like, has a lot of negative consequences. If we only give girls and not boys dolls or beauty sets, it kind of primes them to associate themselves with these interests. Boys can be primed to like more active pursuits like toy tools and cars or whatever. Yet boys clearly enjoy, I definitely know little boys who actually enjoy playing with dolls and bunnies and things like that. But these are not seen as typically bought for them. These are not seen as toys that boys typically play with. So I guess parents of boys often talk about how they are more boisterous and they enjoy rougher play, while girls are more gentle and meek. Again, I know that this is a very generalized statement, but that's the problem in the society that we live in today. From infancy, we discourage our children, we discourage younger children, especially boys, are discouraged from playing with toys that we might associate as a feminine. Then which kind of is problematic because they may not develop a skill set that they might need later in life. So if they are discouraged by their peers from playing with dolls while at some time they see their mother doing most of the childcare, what does that say about whose role it is to do most of the childcare? See, this whole aspect of how gender biases or gender conditioning starts as children. We are kind of engraved, or we are kind of conditioned to believe that this is what boys like, this is what girls like. But that is essentially so problematic, right? This is what I feel like sets the grassroots level to gender stereotyping. Parents of boys give them certain things, and that kind of, then those children believe that that's what's right, and then that's what they're going to do for the next generation. And that kind of creates these stereotypes and conditionings that are actually very harmful to society, which is why I want you to be more aware of what's happening. Be aware that what you do to little children, especially, can have such a huge impact on stereotypes that are created in society. Which is why it's so important that you teach, or rather, from a young age, you figure out what children want instead of forcing them to like something or thrusting certain things upon them, right? So what I believe, I'm obviously no expert at this, but one thing that I have seen some parents, especially modern day parents, do that I find absolutely amazing is this whole concept of parenting without the social construct of gender. If you let the children figure out what they love. If your little boy loves to play with dolls, let your little boy play with dolls. But if your girl likes to do things that aren't associated with pink and dolls, then so what? I feel like we need to teach our children to formulate their own likings, to formulate what they love to do in their own opinions. That kind of creates people or children that are more independent and people that can stand by their own opinions as opposed to stick to gender norms and gender stereotypes or social stereotypes rather. That's why I think it's so important that we teach our children respect from a young age. Remember, gender is simply a social construct. Okay, gender is something that society thrust upon us and said, see, you belong to one category, you belong to another category. Which is why we need to try to remove this aspect of gender in order to remove gender biases from our society to be fair. And that is definitely something that a lot of people are talking about more. So I think that uh, talking about it essentially has garnered a lot of attention for it, especially in the UK. A lot of young parents are talking about raising their children exclusive of a whole gendered aspect. If you fail to understand this, we are more alike from birth than we are different, and treat our children accordingly, our world will continue to be gendered. Undoing these assumptions is not easy. We as children, we as adults, when we were growing up, these are the kind of conditionings that we were subjected to. So undoing these assumptions is definitely not going to be easy. But perhaps we can all think twice before we tell a little boy how brave he is and tell a little girl how kind or perfect she is. See, everything, especially with children, I believe that it's so important that we create or undo the mistakes of our past generations. And the only way we can do that is through children. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is do whatever it takes to teach your children respect despite of gender, and let your children make a decision about what they want to wear, about what they want to play with, and so on and so forth. Now, with that being said, that was some actually very interesting conversation. I would love to hear what you think. What are your opinions? What are your thoughts? Please feel free to call me up on 07852 or you could very simply connect with me on our social media. Now, if you're listening to us on any of our lives, you could comment down below and I will directly see your comment and I can reply to it and we can have some good conversation. Now, with that being said, let's get back into some advertisements, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Welcome back to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, Relax Radio. This is the chat trap on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. It is a Wednesday, it is a beautiful day, and we've spoken about a lot of different things, okay? But now I want to talk about something that is kind of interesting, that is actually very interesting, and that's with regards to horror, okay? Why do you think people love horror so much is definitely one thing I want to explore together with you. And I also want to give you some information on some entertainment news, because guess what? The Saw franchise. If you are a horror fan, you are definitely aware of the horror movie Saw. Now, Saw horror franchise actually releases a new movie. It's called Spiral, and it has helped Saw horror franchise to surpass over 1 billion US dollars. That just goes to show how many people love horror, and I do want to talk about why people love horror, and talk about some really good horror movies out there. Now, with that being said, before we get into that conversation, let's talk about what you can do if you want to be a part of the conversation. I would love to hear your opinions, your perspectives. If you are a horror fan, well, then you've got to let me know. You can definitely do that by commenting down below if you're listening to us on any of our lives, on any of our social media. But if you're listening to us on our app, you could always call us up on 07852473473. Go ahead. If you're listening to us on our live, if you comment down below, we can have direct conversation, which is always amazing. So make sure that you let me know that you're listening in, so that I can acknowledge your presence and I can have a little conversation with you. Now, with that being said, let's talk about Spiral for a second. So Spiral, basically, the horror movie franchise Saw has now earned more than 1 billion US dollars. That's about 706 million. Uh, yeah, my maths is not too great, but yeah, about 1 billion US dollars in global ticket sales, following the release of the ninth installment, Spiral. Okay, so it earned about 4.5 million US dollars in the US and about 2.67 million dollars overseas at the weekend premiere. Now, it stars Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, and the newest film in the series follows the police hunt for a copycat inspired by the legacy, I think, of the Jigsaw killer, who basically goes and sets traps for his victim. Okay, so basically, it's a horror police hunt situation. I actually haven't watched it yet, but I'm a huge horror fan, so I cannot wait to watch this. I just hope it's really good. So basically, the Saw franchise, if I'm not mistaken, debuted in 2004, and it had 7 annual releases, and then it revived again back in 2017. Now, it was created by James Wan and Leigh Whannell, who also feature as executive producers on Spiral, and the series was named the most successful horror movie series in film history by Guinness World Records in 2010, which is actually pretty crazy. To know that the series, that is the Saw franchise, was actually named the most successful horror movie series in film history by the Guinness World Records in 2010, which is why I thought I needed to talk to you about this, okay? So the original Saw earned a massive 103 million US dollars worldwide from a 1.2 dollar budget. How crazy is that? Okay, so they earned 103 million US dollar revenue from a 1.2 million dollar budget. So that's a crazy profit right there. It was advertised with a witty tagline, "Do you dare to see Saw?" And I feel like a lot of people, especially when it came out back in 2004, everybody was about watching the movie. Everybody was so hyped for the original Saw, and yeah, that's basically what got it to be the most successful horror movie series in film, according to Guinness World Records. Now, since then, every installment, with the exception of the 2009 Saw 6, crossed the $100 million barrier globally while keeping production budgets below $20 million. Now, Saw 3 remains the highest grossing entry, taking in about 164 million US dollars worldwide. Now, Spiral basically, if you're just tuning in, Spiral is basically the latest film that has been introduced to the Saw series, and Spiral has so far made $15.8 million in the US and $6.7 million internationally since its 14th May release, building basically a global haul of about $22.5 million according to Box Office Mojo, which it's pretty amazing because it just started streaming. It just started showing in cinemas, and it's already earned a revenue, a global haul of 22.5 US dollars, which is crazy. Now, this means that it has become the first Saw movie to top the US domestic weekend box office in a non-opening weekend. And what's the secret? I don't know. I've always wondered, for Saw to last so long, Saw is definitely a good horror movie franchise, but let's be real, there's definitely better horror movies out there. So, what's the secret for it to last for so long if gruesome appeal? Now, the popularity of Saw is intriguing actually because. It might be that fans of the movie want to tap into this old school horror franchise model from the heyday of the 1980s and the 1990s, when you could expect the return of Freddy on an annual basis. So, according to experts, why Saw is so popular is because a lot of fans want to tap into this old school horror franchise model from the heyday of the 1980s and the 1990s. So that's basically, according to experts, a reason why Saw became so popular. And yeah, it's legitimately frightening or torturously bad. That's another question that a lot of critics have posed. Despite the continued audience appeal, Spiral, directed by series veteran Darren Lynn Bousman, has divided critiques, which is fair enough. I feel like everything has divided critiques. Now, it's produced in partnership with Rock, who suggested the project to Lionsgate bosses, and the film aims to basically reframe the series against the backdrop of police corruption, which I think is actually pretty amazing, considering that in the US there is a huge issue with ongoing police violence. So yeah, the film aims to reframe the series against the backdrop of police corruption. Now. Yeah, so they say that the series hasn't really changed. Depending on whether you're a fan or not, you either eat up or throw it up. So, apparently, from the people that have already watched the newest installment of the Saw franchise, which is Saw, either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it, and there's absolutely no in between. And I would absolutely love to know if you are a fan of horror, if it's something that you are interested in. Do let me know. The number to call me is 07852 or you could very simply connect with me on any of our social media. That is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We go as Relaks Radio, and we talk about all things interesting. So go right ahead, connect with me, and let me know what's going on. With that being said, let's take a little break, but make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relaks Radio. to the show. I am Jamie, and this is, of course, Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. It is a beautiful day out there, and I want to remind you to live your best life, okay? We only get one life, so go ahead, do what you love, do what makes you happy at the end of the day, and make sure that you are in control of how your life is going. Make sure that you are in control of the decisions that you make, and more importantly, make sure that you are happy with the way that your life is going. And that's okay if that means that you have to take a step back in whatever you're doing. At the end of the day, my goal for you is that you, one day when you have to leave this earth, when you have to pass on, you are going to look back at your life and say, oh my goodness, I lived an amazing life. And if you can do that, that I believe is the true pinnacle of success, to say the least. And I believe that that is just life, the best possible life, you know. So to do that, you need to do what you love. And even if that means taking a step back, like I told you before, or even if that means doing something that society would deem to be not perfect, that's okay, because again, at the end of the day, you're the person that has to live with you, not society, not all of these standards that they have set on us. So make sure that you do whatever it takes to keep yourself happy, and more importantly, make sure that you do whatever it takes to become the best version of yourself. Now, with that being said, we have a lot of interesting things lined up to talk about, so make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. If you want to be a part of the show, we've been talking about a lot of different things, and I would absolutely love your opinion. So go right ahead and text me or call me on 07852473473. Or if you're listening to us on any of our social media platforms, all you gotta do is comment down below. If you want your voice heard by every single person that's listening into us through multiple different platforms, well, all you gotta do is comment down below, and I will share it with everybody, and I will definitely talk to you. Now, with that being said, I want to go back to talking about what we were talking on earlier, and that is horror. Okay, the reason we started talking about horror is because the Saw franchise that has been in existence since 2004, like I told you before, it is said to be the most successful horror franchise according to the Guinness World Record. Now, the reason we're talking about it yet again is because they had a new movie that just came out. It's called Spiral, and Spiral basically has helped Saw, the horror franchise, surpass 1 billion US dollar milestone. It's one of the highest earning movie franchises out there, and that makes me wonder, why do people love horror so much? Because I myself am a huge fan of horror. I love jump scares. I love horror. And why are people so attracted to it? So, okay, I know friends, some of my friends who absolutely despise horror, but when something comes in the cinemas, or as soon as some horror movie comes, we're all excited. And even though they barely watch it because they're covering their eyes so often, there's this hype that is created that makes you kind of want to watch horror even though you hate it. So why is that? So I started like looking into it because I wanted to figure out why people love horror so much. Now, according to a lot of evolutionary psychologists, they say that horror films tap into our primal fears. Now, okay, why I wanted to talk to you about this is because I think it's super interesting, and kind of is I don't know, it kind of blew my mind to learn about this, to learn why human beings actually love horror. Now, evolutionary psychologists say that the reason we love horror films is because we tap into our primal fears, you know, such as fear of contamination, or fear of being eaten, or fear of, I don't know, fear of ghosts or the supernatural, or if you like zombie movies, then, fear of oversized carnivores. I don't know. So these horror movies basically aim at or targets your primal fears, right? Horror films essentially provide a safe way. Okay, this is what's crazy. This is what you need to hear out, okay? So the reason, according to psychologists, why human beings love horror so much is because horror films provide us a safe way to rehearse mentally of how we would cope with age-old dangers. Like, I don't know, but when I watched horror movie, I think for me personally, one of my favorite is the Conjuring series. I don't know if you watched it. I don't know if it's too popular amongst people in the UK, but it's definitely one of my favorite. And the reason I watch it is because I always could picture or think of myself in that situation, and yeah, and like it kind of helps me figure out, okay, what are you going to do if you were in that situation? So basically, according to psychologists, that's why human beings love horror movies. It gives you this safe way to rehearse mentally how you are going to cope or deal or get away with all of these age-old dangers such as zombies or contamination or deadly diseases or the supernatural ghosts or whatnot, right? Curiously, the more negative emotions a person says that they experience during a horror flick, the more likely they are to say that they enjoy the genre. Which is again something that I haven't been able to understand. Like I told you, I do have friends who absolutely hate horror movies, but they will do whatever it takes to watch the movie. So one theory is that it's because some people, especially sensation seekers, find pleasure in the feelings of relief that follows after the intense fear, which is absolutely mind blowing. Which means that some people watch horror just for not for the thrill. I watch horror for the thrill, but certain other people watch horror to essentially feel that relief, feel that sense of gratitude or relief or stress relief after the movie is over, which is something I never thought of, which is absolutely crazy. So that essentially explains to us why people love horror. I would love to know what kind of person you are. You the sort of person that loves the thrill of it, loves the adventure, or you somebody that covers your eyes and watches the movie and then feels this overwhelming sensation of relief once the movie is over? What kind of person are you? What are your favorite horror movies? I think in the UK, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the UK, one of the most popular horror movies is definitely The Shining, in my opinion. I don't know, again, that's my opinion. It could definitely be wrong. But yeah, The Shining is definitely a good one just because it gives you that, like I told you before, that old school horror feel, if that makes any sense to you. The Shining definitely gives this old school horror feel. 28 Days Later is really good as well. Escape Rooms. If you haven't watched any of these, go ahead, just see, I mean, explore different genres. I know people who think horror movies are absolutely a waste of time, but that's okay. If you're one of those, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with trying out the genre. So yeah, if you've not watched some good horror movies, some good ones to check out are definitely The Shining. It is overly hyped, to say the least, with the clown. If you are fear of clowns, well, you are going to relate to it. It is definitely going to make it so much worse. So watch it at your own discretion. Escape Room is another good one that I absolutely love. Resident Evil, it's a classic. Poltergeist. It Chapter 2 was, in my opinion, not the best. That's just my opinion again, but I know that a lot of people out there love it. Insidious, like I told you, The Prodigy is yet another good one. And in my opinion, I know I love the Conjuring series with like the Annabelle doll and all of that American horror. Anyway, it is definitely the thrill for me. What is it for you? What is your favorite genre of movie? I would absolutely love to know. So make sure that you comment down below, let me know, and yeah, let's have a good time together. But with that being said, let's take a little break, but I'll be back very soon. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Welcome back to the show. This is the chat trap with me, Jamie, on a Relax Radio. Now we are spelled without the X and Relax because we're all about positivity. We're all about making sure that you are happy, that you are positive, and that you are filled with positive energy to get going with your day in the best possible way. So if you have something that you want me to talk about, all you gotta do is either call me on 07852 473 or you could very simply comment on down below if you're listening to us on any of our social media platforms. If you're listening to us live, you can definitely comment and engage with me, and I can reply to you, and we can have a real-time conversation in that way. Now, earlier on, we were talking about horror movies. We were talking about a lot of interesting things, and I have a lot more coming up as well. My show actually talks about entertainment news, inspiration, motivation, whereas the show after me speaks of politics, current affairs, business, technology, everything that you need to know. We keep you updated here at Relax Radio, which is why you need to keep it tuned and you need to watch out our platform 24/7, 365. Now, with that being said, I do want to draw your attention to a little, I wouldn't say issue, but something that's happening in England, and that is that there has been a COVID rule change, and amateur choirs are devastated because of this COVID rule change in England. Now, last Monday, we spoke of how lockdown restrictions were eased everywhere. And a lot of people were happy, especially young teachers and choir directors and directresses and singers. They were happy to go back into singing. And yeah, it was amazing because of the ease of lockdown restrictions, a lot of people, especially people with choirs, with amateur choirs, could go back into doing their thing. Now, but apparently this joy is essentially short-lived because the government updated their guidelines without warning to say that amateur choirs in England could only gather in groups of 6 people indoors and 30 outdoors. So that is a new restriction that is imposed by the government. And yeah, it says that amateur choirs in England could only gather in groups of 6 people indoors and 30 people outdoors. Now, this decision was as unexpected as it was unwelcome rather. Choirs have been working under the assumption that restriction on rehearsals would be relaxed on 17th May, that's last week, at the same time as shops and bars and hairdressers opened up. Now, instead, they were given that the guidelines were actually more draconian than the ones in place last September and October, when infection rates were actually higher and no one had been vaccinated. So, yeah, a lot of people, especially amateur choir directors, say that it's absolutely devastating. And yeah, they can understand why this has been done. Now, the Association of British Choral Directors called the last minute change disappointing and unreasonable and unworkable as well. And in a statement, it said that the advice diverges from what they had been led to believe, that non-professional music activity would return outdoors and indoors in England from 17th May, which was what was told to everybody. But yeah, the government decided to impose a new limit and yeah, dictated a size of a venue as well. Now, the effects are wide reaching across the UK. More than 2 million people regularly sing in 70,000 choirs. And in the House of Commons, Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden told MPs the decision to place new restrictions actually on their activities was actually made on the basis of very clear public health guidance. Now, according to the government's website, though, singing, shouting, and physical activity increases the risk of transmission through small droplets and aerosols. Now, the more people involved, the higher risk of transmission, which is why the numbers are currently restricted. But then again, that goes to the question as to, bars are open, hairdressers are open, so this kind of thing can't be restricted in those places as well. So why is it only imposed on choirs? But yeah, it's what the government has planned to do. And according to a lot of sources, though I did read up on this a few minutes back, apparently, according to science, it doesn't back up the government's position. According to especially Declan Costello, who is an ENT surgeon and chorister who has researched aerosol transmission. particles that expel when you talk, cough, or sing for Public Health England and the Department of Culture, Media and Sports. Now, the study he worked on, basically published last summer, showed that singing, in fact, does not produce substantially more respiratory particles compared to when you're speaking at a similar volume, although the production of aerosols is increased when you speak or sing loudly. So, at the time, Dowden welcomed the research, saying that it showed that there were no heightened risks associated with singing or playing music. But since then, Costello says that he has not been made aware of any new research that's come through to show that singing is more dangerous now than it was a few weeks ago. So, which is why a lot of people are saying that this policy of the government is actually very unwelcome and uncalled for, considering that every other aspect of our society is opening up slowly. And yeah, a lot of these restrictions imposed on amateur choirs are very unwelcome according to the general public. But yeah, I just wanted to keep you informed with what is happening around London and around the UK. And if you have anything that you want to share with me, like I told you before, all you gotta do is call me up on 07852 I am Jamie, and I'll be with you for about an hour more, actually, talking to you about very interesting things. So make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Make sure that you stay connected with us and make sure that you let me know what's going on. And while you're at it, I also want to tell you, please do go check out our social media. We go as Relax Radio on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Make sure that you go check us out, show some love, and keep yourself updated and occupied with the Relax Radio crew. We keep you updated, our tweets keep you updated with everything that's going on. So if you want to keep yourself updated in every aspect, all you got to do is check us out on our social media. Again, that is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We go as Relax Radio, so definitely go show us some love on our social media. Okay, with that being said, I also want to remind you again, you can simply comment down below if you're listening to us on any of our lives on our social media. Let me know how your day is going. Let me know if you agree with what I'm saying, or if you disagree. It doesn't matter. I would love to hear from you. So go right ahead and let me know. With that being said, I'm actually going to take a break for a few minutes, but make sure that you keep it tuned and right here on Relax Radio. Welcome back to the show. This is the Chat Up with me, Jamie, on Relax Radio. Now, we are an interactive radio community where we absolutely value what you have to say. So, if you have a thought or opinion, an idea, please feel free to go right ahead and interact with me. Let me know what's going on because I would absolutely love to hear from you. The number to call me is 07852473473, or you could very simply connect with me on our social media platforms, that is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We go as Relax Radio. If you just want to have a conversation with me or any of our individuals at Relax Radio, all you gotta do is hit us up. Either send us a direct message or connect with us on any of our social media platforms. Now, with that being said, I have a lot to talk to you about. I'll be here with you for quite some time, actually, and we've been talking about a lot of interesting things for the past few hours. But right now, I want to talk about Marilyn Manson for a second because Marilyn Manson has an arrest warrant against him. So the police in the U.S. state of New Hampshire have issued an active arrest warrant for singer Marilyn Manson in connection with assault charges. Now, Mr. Manson is 52 years of age and he is accused of 2 counts of Class A misdemeanor simple assault involving a videographer during his concert in Guildford in 2019. Now, this statement, actually, the police did release a statement, and they said that the singer and his agents have been aware of the warrant for some time, but he had made no effort to return to answer the charges, according to the police. Now, the statement from the Guildford Police Department said each charge carries a possible jail sentence of less than a year and a fine up to about 2,000 US dollars. Now, the police added that the alleged assaults are not sexual in nature, but Mr. Manson, whose real name is Brian Hugh Warner, has so far made no public comments on this issue. And earlier this month, apparently, it emerged that Manson's former assistant, Ashley Walters, was suing the singer alleging sexual assault, which is crazy. But Miss Walters' legal team filed a complaint in California, and apparently, it claimed that Manson was a terrifying and violent boss who told friends that they could grope and kiss Miss Walters and made her work for 48 hours in a row, which is absolutely scary. And if this is the truth, then whoever they are, whoever the celebrities, however big they are, they need to be held accountable if these allegations are true. Now, Mr. Manson's management have vehemently denied any accusations of assault, and in February, Mr. Manson was dropped by his record label Loma Vista Recordings following the claims by actress Evan Rachel Wood that she was horrifically abused by the performer. Now, Mr. Manson again has denied the allegations, saying that they are horrible distortions of a reality. Now, yeah, that's just the story of what is happening. A lot of people have had accuses against Marilyn Manson, but yeah, apparently the police of the U.S. state of New Hampshire have issued an active arrest warrant for singer Marilyn Manson in connection with assault charges. And I think that just goes to say that if these allegations are true against Marilyn Manson, if they are true, the assault charges, the sexual assault charges, the abuse charges, if they are true, he definitely deserves to be held accountable for their actions, because I feel like we live in a society where the kind of consequences that you suffer for misdemeanor or wrongdoing depends on your stance of society and depends on your class or popularity with society. Well, that shouldn't be the case. No, even if you are the president, even if you are acknowledged by every single human being on planet, a wrongdoing still remains a wrongdoing and needs to be held accountable. So I'm glad that the U.S. police is at least doing something to look into this Marilyn Manson case and see if it's true, and if it's true, in order to actually arrest him, which is absolutely fair enough. I mean, even if you are a Marilyn Manson fan, it's kind of sad to see this happening, but it is what it is, and people need to be held accountable for their actions despite their placement in society, despite fame, and despite how much money they possibly could have. So yeah, that's basically what's happening with regards to the entertainment industry. Thank you so much for every single one of you that have been tuned in so far. It's been such a pleasure to have you on board. It's such a pleasure to know that you are there listening, and it's such a pleasure to know that you are being a part of this journey with Relax Radio. Now, I want to say, if you are listening in, please feel free to go check us out on our social media. Say hi to me, say hi to any of our members from Relax Crew, because we would absolutely love to hear from you. With that being said, we have more interesting conversation coming up, so make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio. Welcome back to the show. It's such a pleasure to have you on board. We've been talking about a lot of different things. This is, of course, a chat up on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing day so far. And I just want to remind you that we've been talking about criticism earlier on. We've been talking about what you can do in order to deal with criticism. And I told you that no matter what you do in life, criticism is going to follow you. That's how we started this conversation. But what I want to do within the next couple minutes is help you deal with criticism in life. Because at the end of the day, you should not worry about criticism, because you simply cannot make everybody happy, okay? It is important to accept criticism, to learn from it, and let go. So, like I told you before, if you absolutely want to avoid criticism, then the best thing to do is to do nothing. But what's the point of life if you do nothing, right? Which means that if you're doing something right, if you're on your path to success, you are definitely going to fail. You are definitely going to be criticized and judged, and there are going to be haters out there. But that never means that you should stop doing what you are doing. That never means that you should stop pursuing your dreams. Now, with that being said, I want to I'll give you a few tips and tricks on what you can do to deal with criticism in life better. Now, I told you before as well, you've got to take criticism as a motivation. You've got to see critic as motivators. I told you how in my life personally, if people tell me that I can't do something, there's this thrill in proving people wrong. And it's almost this kind of motivation and inspiration that you needed to do what you love. So don't let somebody's words stop you. I feel like a great pleasure in life is doing what people say you cannot do. So if people criticize you, use that as motivation to do whatever makes you happy. Now, take the roads less traveled. If you want to avoid criticism, go with the crowd. Okay. If you want to avoid any hate from people, then you've got to go with the crowd. But what's important is that if you want to lead life the way that you want to, if you want to make your life your own, you've got to take the road less traveled. Yeah, you know that it is full of difficulties, but remember that out of difficulties come opportunities. So don't go with the flow. Do what makes you happy. Do what you love to do, and just don't do things because society tells you to. Don't think too much. This I told you earlier as well. Before taking any step, we think of what our family thinks. We think of what our social media followers would think. We think of what our friends and family would think about this decision that we're making. But if you really want to do something productive, you have to just go ahead and do it. People will always have something to say. You are going to be criticized if you fail, but remember, you will also find critics even if you success. So criticisms in life are going to be there either ways. And once you understand this, life is going to be so much easier and you are going to deal with criticism so much better. So remember that the trick to actually dealing with criticism in life is to like decide for yourself. I'm not saying you should not listen to other people. Listen to other people. Listen why other people are, telling you why you shouldn't do it. Consider other people's opinions, but remember at the end of the day, they're just opinions. So listen to everybody, but decide for yourself. Take suggestions and opinions from others while taking some big decisions in life. It is all right to benefit from others' experience, but do not accept their limitations as yours. Okay. Care about yourself first. Do not care so much what you are to others as what you are to yourself, if that makes any sense. So remember that other people kind of project their insecurities and their failures at you. Just because somebody else failed doesn't mean that you have to. But yeah, listen to other people, listen to their advice, but make that decision by yourself. The other thing that I do want to remind you is don't take criticism too hard. For some reason, if we hear 100 praises and we hear one criticism, we as human beings have this tendency to focus on that one hurtful thing. See, there is no need to take criticism personally. Most of the time, people around you criticize because of their own regrets in life, like I told you before. Their words of criticism come out of anger, come out of their own lack of strength. So if someone speaks harshly to you, don't just react. Instead, rethink and act. Let your actions speak louder than words. You succeed and then you show them what you are capable of. Finally, I want you to consider criticism as a part of success. Yes, criticism is an integral part of success. You can't succeed without having criticisms in life. So accept it, take it as an example of anyone. Just think of any celebrity or famous person or successful person out there. They are going to have criticisms. People are going to say stuff against them. The one person that has the highest number of fans is also going to have a huge number of critics. Even the top rated movie, like we told you, does not have the a 10 out of 10 rating. You can find people criticizing and saying that it's an bad movie. But you need to understand that in the pursuit of success, in the pursuit of happiness, it's just a part of the process. So trust the process, trust that criticism just comes with your journey to success, and just go with it. And do not ever let criticism stop you from doing what you love. Don't ever let someone tell you that you can't do something. If you got a dream, you've got to protect it. When people can do something themselves, they're going to tell you that they can't do it, that you can't do it as well. So if you want to get something, if you want to go for something, if you want to get something in life, go get it, period. Okay, make sure that you do what you love. Make sure that you don't let other people's negativity limit you from doing what you love. Basically, that's the little inspiration for me, Jamie, right here on Relax Radio. Hope you are having an amazing day so far. Make sure that you keep it tuned in right here on Relax Radio. back to the show. This is, of course, the Chat Wrap with me, Jamie, on Relax Radio. Hope you are having yourself an amazing, amazing day so far. It is a beautiful day out there. And I want to remind you that despite what is going on in the world, you need to be grateful for the fact that you are able to wake up today and get on about with your activity, okay? Because things, especially in India and a lot of countries in Asia and Africa, are having such a hard time with the COVID 19 pandemic, and a lot of people are suffering. And we in the UK, we in England, are super lucky to have our lockdown restrictions actually eased down so much so that we can get on with our normal life, our daily activity. So I feel like this, I want to remind you to be as grateful as possible and as appreciative as possible, because the life you are living, like I always tell you, no matter how um, not great the life may seem to you, the life you are living, no matter how hard it may seem to you, it is a fairy tale to somebody out there. So be appreciative. The least you can do is be grateful for the fact that you have some breath in your body, for the fact that you are alive today, for the fact that you have a roof over your head and food to eat, because that is not a reality for a lot of people out there. And I think the of course there's only so much we can do, but I think the least that we can do is to be grateful for the kind of life that we have, and use every single moment. The fact that you were able to wake up today with being healthy is in itself a blessing. So make sure that you use that blessing for good. Make sure that you do whatever it takes to live life, because a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So do whatever it takes to be happy. Do whatever it takes to make sure that you are satisfied with the kind of life you are living, and make sure that you live life according to your own rules. Break the rules that society sets, not the law. Break the rules that society sets, and become the best possible version of yourself, because that is why you are living today, to make yourself the best possible version of yourself and to give back something to the community. And I think the first step of giving back to community lies with you starting to accept yourself for who you are. So first, learn how to love yourself. First, learn how to be kind to yourself, and then that would lead to you being good to other people and you being kind to other people as well. Now, with that being said, I want to touch on something before I head on out. I want to talk to you about why living with and tending plants is actually good for you. Okay. Now, I feel like a lot of millennials, the reason I want to do talk about this for a second is because millennials and Gen Zs love caring for indoor plants. It's almost like a trend now. But I want to look at why essentially did a self care for plants and house plants become such a big thing. Why is it so popular amongst the younger generation, to be specific. Now, this overwhelming millennial and Gen Z obsession has exploded in recent years, like I told you before. But why do these particular generations love tending for plants so much? Me, myself, I absolutely love having those little cute cactuses or cacti in my house, because I don't know, I feel amazing taking care of a few plants. But why? Why do these generations love tending plants so much? And it is a question that I do want to answer with you. Now, basically, in this book that I read, the author says that apparently there is a strong emotional connection that especially Gen Zs and millennials have with plants. There's something deeply moving about seeing something germinate and flower or even go to seed. And apparently, there's a real joy to be found in new growth or the return of favorite perennial plant through the soil after a long, dark winter. Now, I find this seasonal change of plants and wider natural world around something that helps to guide me in everyday life, which means that gardening rather is almost very meditative for me personally. But see, again, it's about finding that resonance. A lot of people may not think similar, but if you are one of those people that find gardening kind of therapeutic and meditative, well, then it's amazing for you, because you found out what makes you happy, And yeah, it can be it can be a real solace and a factor that can be calming, especially when you're stuck at home. Now, both millennials and Gen Zs grew up in a landscape that was increasingly obsessed with living online, and the introductions to, from then on, I feel like we clamored for technological advance, from Game Boys to mobile phones to messengers, and everything was expected to be faster, to be slicker, more connected than its preceded. Right now, this continued into adulthood as well. A lot of Gen Zs and millennials took jobs that were increasingly online and expected sort of this instant gratification, from apps on our phones, from dating to takeaways to cabs to handyman, whatever it is. Everything is so swift. Like, you can get access to anything in today's day and age so fast. So how does that translate to gardening? How does that translate to the millennials and Gen Z's obsession with tending for house plants? I feel like it essentially is an antidote to this fast and furious digital life. At least for me, it's almost this tending to houseplants and gardening rather. There is nothing instant. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing can be, tapped on a phone. You can't tap on your phone and expect your plant to grow. It doesn't happen like that. It is this slow, physical, what's the word, patience testing activity, all of which I personally find hugely relaxing when the rest of my day is so rapidly paced. So apparently, Gen Zs and millennials are a generation that is increasingly conscious of the planet that we exist upon and how we need to connect and look after it. So gardening is as much of a part of climate consciousness as using refillable water bottles, if that makes any sense. And yeah, I think that's exactly why a lot of people absolutely love gardening, why they use it as a meditative, therapeutic form of activity. I don't know about you, but I definitely do. It is a way that I connect with the society around me. It's a way that I connect with the like inner peace sort of situation. And yeah, and if you haven't tried out tending for a small cacti, it doesn't take too much time. Actually, it doesn't take too much effort. So if you haven't tried tending for a house plant or a indoor gardening or whatever, do give it a go, because it's very therapeutic, it's very meditative. And like I said before, we live in a world that's so fast paced. It's very nice to take some time back and watch something grow step by step by step. And yeah, it can be very meditative, like I just told you. So that is why Gen Zs and millennials absolutely love houseplanting. At least the majority loves houseplants and indoor gardening, and it can be very mentally soothing as well. So I want you to give it a go. Give it a go. See how much you love indoor planting, and let me know. Now, with that being said, it's about the time that I head on out of here. But make sure that you keep it tuned right here on Relax Radio, because we are talking about all things interesting. I want to say a big thank you going out to every single one that joined me. Hope you have the most amazing day ahead. I will see you tomorrow, same time,